Welcome to our study in the book of Psalms. We are to Psalm 60 already. The book of Psalms is the national songbook of Israel, and I've titled this psalm Running on Empty. And you're going to see what that means very shortly about King David and some people that he's been facing and what the Lord does with it. This is our general outline for all of the Psalms. In the Hebrew Bible, Psalms is actually 5 books, and this is their breakout and their themes. And this is taught to a Sunday school class, and if you wish to have a hard copy, email me at this address, and I'll email you the lesson sheet back. So here's our introduction. Before we get into the actual words, we are in Scripture. The Bible tells us it is written by King David. It is in the prescript before we get into the verse 1. It is written to the chief musician, and this is probably Asaph. He is a Levite, and he and his family and other Levites are called and chosen to head up the musical ministry for Israel in the temple and the tabernacle. There are musical instructions given in this psalm, so this psalm has a lot of detail up front. It is in quotes, it says this, upon Shushan Udoth, which means lilies. Miktam of David, which is a designation that this is a golden poem to be exalted above all the others. David has these instructions or this designation only on a very few psalms, and these he intended to elevate to, I don't know if these were the favorites to sing, or they touched his heart, or the Lord said, designate these so that the people learn them and learn them well. There's a lot of speculation, but at least these were the gold ribbon ones would say this in our language, but these are golden poems. Chronologically, it can fit in around 2 Samuel 8:11, and here's the backstory to that. Chapter 8 of 2 Samuel deals with the expansion of David's kingdom. He's king now. Victories are won in every direction of the kingdom. The king of Israel jots just some thoughts down before this psalm. David writes, quote, to teach when he strove with Aram Naharim and with Aram Zobah, when Joab returned and smote Edom in the valley of Salt, 12,000. All right, so let's unravel this a little bit, and let's start backwards. The valley of Salt, if you would look at this geographical from space map, the Mediterranean Sea is the big body of blue to the far upper left, and to the upper sort of right, that is the Dead Sea. And if you come down the Dead Sea area, there's a big valley. There's mountains on each side, and there's greenery, and then there's a valley of salt all in this area here on east and west mountains. So it's like a valley coming down out of the Dead Sea. And what is the Dead Sea called? The Salt Sea, also, or the Great Salt Sea. And so when it overflows and then recedes back, it once again leaves a deposit of salt. Okay, again, there's the Valley of Salt, the designation, the beginning of it there. And I've blue arrowed this to the bottom. Do you see where it says Valley of Siddim? At the southern base of the Sea of Galilee, that valley starts and empties into the Valley of Salt. Okay, we've read a couple other words. Edom is on the far right bottom, And do you see Moab across from it's actually Moab's part of the peninsula-ish thing that sticks out into the Dead Sea. And we'll be coming back to them in just a minute. So I'm going to backtrack some slides. And we've picked up Edom, and we've picked up the Valley of Salt, and the Salt Sea. And Joab was one of the generals for King David. There's more to come. These were the areas of those two individuals, Aram, and then they are descendants and tribal people that Joab fought against, but Joab fought them, and David fought them also at different times. We are about this far in David's reign with the blue arrow, quite far. And so here is what David has to say. We are broken, heal us. We are in need, hear us. And we are in trouble, help us. So David talks about we are broken. And most of the time when he would say we, it means he also. He would include himself as we should include ourselves. We are a broken people. The church is a broken people, and we would cry to the Lord, heal us. And so here's David right off the bat saying, "O God, thou hast cast us off." Actually, it is implied, you have cast us off in scorn. You have scattered us, literally you've broken this military strength we had, the spiritual strength we've had. We're broken people. We're scattered. You have been displeased, and displeased in the Hebrew can be displeased or angry or actually breathe hard, like in frustration. Oh, turn thyself to us again. And really David is saying in a breath, just at the very end, he says, "Oh, Lord, restore to us. Would you restore us to you and to our strength, and that our focus would be up on you. You have made the earth tremble or quake. You have broken or split it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it shakes or is fractures." Once again, yes, God does these things, but David is talking about symbolically about, Lord, you've shaken us, you've broken us, you've breached us. David's talking about the earth, meaning his life and his people and his kingdom. Thou hast showed your people hard things. You have made us to drink the wine of astonishment. Well, the word astonishment means staggering or reeling, that you've just been hit with something utterly amazing and a wow. And in this case, the phrase drink the wine of astonishment literally says of staggering, is that you've made us weak. And so once again, this goes along with the first verse of David just staging this and speaking this again to the Lord, that we've lost our power and our strength. Help. You have given a banner or a standard to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. And then the word Selah is musical instruction. That means we should stop here and think about the first four verses and what's been said. And it's a musical rest. And so the music stops, the people stop singing, and the people are called to think and reflect upon where they are with the Lord, and where they are spiritually. Moving on. We are in need. Lord, would you hear us? That your beloved may be delivered. Save with your right hand and hear me, or hear us, actually, is what it's saying. And by the way, I did not put this in here. Right hand is always designated of strength. And so David is actually in a comparison mode, that he says that your beloved, me and your people, may be delivered save or only with your right hand? Well, God's right hand is the power, the strength. And David says, please hear us. Please hear me. God has spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice or triumph. I will divide or plunder Shechem and met out the valley of Succoth. All right, so let's take a look at here. What it's talking about, this is pretty much the northern extremities of this is the heart of the kingdom of David, but north of the Dead Sea, but south of the Sea of Galilee. And Succoth is on the right and Shechem is on the left. And it's pretty much discussing and saying, this is while it's dead center, it's all about Israel. It's talking about just draw your lines. And it's taking care of that which is on the east and that which is on the left of the kingdom and of the Jordan River. Gilead is mine, and Massa is mine. Ephraim also is the strength of mine head. Judah is my lawgiver. Well, here's Gilead and Manasseh, and they are large districts, once again, east and west of the Jordan, and they represent the whole land. Ephraim denotes the military. It's where the strength of Israel was housed. And Judah was the capital of the nation, and it was the capital of the lawgivers and of the priests and the Levites. But civil power came out of Jerusalem also. That's where the king reigned. And so foreign nations are then presented as subdued here to the king and to Jerusalem in Judah. So where are these places? Well, there's Manasseh. And let's go back and pick them up. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim, and Judah. And so if you look at Manasseh and then look south of Manasseh, you can see Ephraim, and then it does not touch it because of Benjamin, but then all that great area is Judah. Then we mentioned Gilead, and it is just south of the Sea of Galilee on the eastern side of the Jordan River. So in your minds, you can go back up and see that it is almost touching where Manasseh is on the other side. So here you have east and west, and then you have the southern power base of the nation. Moab is my washpot. That's just an ordinary vessel. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe or my sandal. It's actually saying over on Edom I will cast them out as a slave. As God just says, I'll cast them like an old shoe. Philistia, triumph thou because of me, or shout, it's talking about. And just literally shout for me. And it is acknowledging subjection over, basically saying what Psalm 108:9 says, over Philistia will I triumph. That God will give the victory. And so look at these places. Here's Moab. Once again, we're looking at east and west, aren't we? And these are the people that have been a problem. And east and west is also the strengths, but what they need firmed up. Remember what David said at the very beginning, our power and our might's just in shambles because we are not right with you and we need you, Lord. And always where the blue arrow is out in the Mediterranean Sea, those are the cities of the Philistine strongholds, Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron. These were always giving Israel problems, and they were the coastal cities predominantly. And so David comes to this point and says, we're in trouble. Help us, Lord. Who will bring me into the strong city or the siege enclosure? Who will lead me into Edom? Who will give me who will give me the power to go and to fight and to take back what we've lost. Will not you, O God, which or who has cast us off, and thou, O God, which didst not go out with our armies? And literally it's saying here, wilt not thou? It is saying, is it not you? A direct statement of honor and of recognition of where the strength and where the victory will come from. See, David understood going into battle in the power of the Lord. David also knew what it was to try to do it in his own strength. He also knew what it was to run from Saul and from his son, both of them trying to kill him at different times in his life, and who he had to turn to constantly. Give us help from trouble, for vain or empty is the help of man. That's where he's coming down to. He's saying, my armies aren't going to pull this off. We need you. Through God, we shall do valiantly or mightily, for he it is that shall tread down or reject or cast aside our enemies. Well, we all go through rough times. I don't know if we go through the rough times like David, but we have our times that our strength is gone. It looks like we're surrounded by your enemies. That then our focus is upon the Lord. You know, this is a theme of David and his life in many of the Psalms, that he'll just say, Lord, help. And in the middle, he'll say, more help, or really, it's hopeless. And then he comes to this and says, Lord, we know it's you that can help us. You see our heart. And we get things done spiritually and get things right with the Lord. So I hope the psalm is of help to you. Go back and look at the maps and think things through again and understand the situation of David and apply it to your life. And I hope this just whets your appetite to dig a little deeper into this psalm. And I want to thank you, and God bless you for listening to this and watching it. And if you want to get ready for Psalm 61, we're trying to put one up a week, but you may be looking at these when every one of them are up, and or coming on late, and get to it when you can. And God bless you for it.